there's only 2 video stores left really in the city, so we don't want to get rid of them. But it is like, when you think of that, the money coming in from the videos is less than like what we make in like a 3-foot square pastry case.
That was Fayes Coffee owner and artist Michael McConnell. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco. Every week on this podcast, you'll hear from business owners, photographers, journalists, and other San Franciscans, telling stories and responding to the question, what is it about this place? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 18, Part 1. You never really know what'll happen when you move across the country to be a donor for your lesbian friend. Fast forward 20 years, and if you're Michael McConnell, you might be the owner of a coffee shop that doubles as one of the last video stores in San Francisco. Here's Michael.
I've worked here for the last 19 of the 20 years that the store has been here, but I've lived in the city for about 20 years. I moved here in 99 from Columbus, Ohio. I actually knew someone who lived here in Columbus where I went to art school, and they were like, hey, they were actually asking, it was a lesbian, and her and her partner wanted me to be a donor for their baby, so they wanted me to come out for that. And then I was contemplating moving to New York with my brother, and I had come out for like a spring break or 3 weeks. I took the Greyhound from Columbus to here, and like while I was here, like had kind of like a job lined up. I had an apartment lined up in the East Bay, and it kind of just was like, oh wait, this may be lining up, so let's just try it and see what happens. And my friend had worked across the street at Buy Right, which is a little grocery store on 18th Street. I'm sure everyone knows Buy Right. And
how did you know her?
She used to hang out at the coffee shop that I worked at in Columbus.
Got it.
So she had a crush on my roommate, so she would hang out all the time. So, and then her parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, and she kind of had like this weird falling out with them, and she took a trip out to San Francisco, and she teached at Clarion, the school up on like the elementary school, the after school program there. Yeah.
So it all started with a crush, essentially.
Basically, but not mine. so
vicariously,
yes.
through a crush. Did you grow up in Ohio?
No, I grew up in Michigan, outside Detroit. So,
okay.
And then
you like at that before that point in your life, you were just like still kind of like moving around the Midwest or whatever we're gonna call that part of the country.
Yeah, I didn't know exactly what I was gonna do. Went to Columbus and thought, I moved to San Francisco, and I thought I would only be here for 4 years, and then I was going to move to New York. So that was like the plan. But
what was it about this place that kept you here?
Well, basically, what ended up happening was when I came out to check out San Francisco, I had set up a job to work at Pete's in 4th Street in Berkeley. Oh, yeah. And I was going to be a manager there, and I had run this I was an assistant general manager of this fancy place in Columbus. And so I started working there, and on the first day of training there, like I was completely trained. They didn't know what to do with me, but their policy was that you had to work there for a month before you could like start making drinks and stuff. Okay. And so I was just working the bean counter, and it kind of was awful. Like it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And so my friend, who I was moved out here for, worked at Buy Right, and she was like, oh, that crazy weird coffee shop video store I think might be hiring. You should go check it out. So I had taken my resume to Dolores Park Cafe and my slides because they showed artwork. So it was like I did a drop off with the owner of there, and then I stopped into Fayes with a resume, and the owner happened to be working later to find out that they thought I was the crazy person who had a resume, because no one had ever applied for a job with them with a resume, because they always had hired people who were just like neighborhood characters. Right. And it was kind of like an odds and end like video like shop that took a siesta in the middle of the day. It was closed, and they had people who lived down the street would all have a night and work. Mm-hmm. So it was very like a communal place.
Yeah, almost like a co-op.
Kind of, yeah. And so they ended up hiring me, and I was working here and at Pete's, and there were these crazy long days. And I was like, told them if they could offer me more hours, I would just quit Pete's because I didn't like it. Mm-hmm. So that's what I ended up doing.
You were staying in the East Bay at that time?
Yeah, I lived in a warehouse like by 40th and San Pablo, basically. Okay. So not far from MacArthur Bart. So,
with friends or?
Yeah, there was 6 of us. It was this like old dry cleaner warehouse space, and like, you know, it was big enough you could roller skate in it. And I had a room that had a studio below it, and it was on stilts and just had a little bedroom above it.
Like a loft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
back when you could do things like this.
Exactly. I drive by that space all the time, and I don't know if anyone's there, and I'm just like, I wish I would have never gave it up in certain ways.
Right. So you're saying a lot of it was this place.
Fayes, yeah. I was going to say, what ended up happening was I worked at Fayes, and I was just the manager. And then the old owners had other jobs. They adopted 3 kids, and they were a gay couple, and they adopted 3 kids. And so I was like a nanny for their kids and working at the store. And the other manager had worked with one of the guys at a research project at UCSF, and he was always like, oh, if you guys ever want to sell the place, I'm interested in it. And so they decided that they were going to sell it, but they were going to only sell it if I was his business partner. And so I didn't know any of this was going on. So one day they sat me outside on the front of the store on the bench and was like, hey, we have this idea. And I was actually in movement of looking to move to New York with my brother again. And then they were like, hey, do you want to buy Fayes? And I was 20-something and like, I don't know if I will have this opportunity. And it seems like it could be, you know, I should not pass this up. And so
it must have felt special that they wanted you and
Matthew.
The other guy, Matthew. Yeah. But
it was cool. So because the store is split like a video and a coffee shop, and I brought them like a nice coffee recipe and said like, you guys have really great quality beans, but like things that you're doing could just be tweaked just a little bit and it would be even better. So I think like, I don't know, and I'm super chatty with all the neighborhood people, and I have a weird memory still. Like, you know, there's been customers who've come in here 15 years later, and I've remembered them and remembered what they drank, and they're like, how do you do that? And I'm just like, I wish I knew how I did it, because I don't have a memory for like things like where am I supposed to be at certain times of the day. So.
No, that's a barista bartender thing.
Yeah.
Like the good ones. It's like they just remember faces and names and drinks, and they can just whip it out. Like you said, 15 years later, that's remarkable.
Yeah.
What did you think the first time you came in here to drop off your resume? What did you think of the place?
It definitely was like that. Like, you know, it was like a mom and pa or a pa and pa type little store. It was definitely quirky, like, you know, handmade shelves. But it wasn't like a normal video store in the sense that like most video stores have carpeting and have like those weird, crazy plastic white racks. And, you know, so there was like, it was like, you know, it looked like 2 gay guys opened a video store. So, but, you know, and it was just a little coffee bar with like, you know, pastry, you know, little pastry whatever. It was pretty simple coffee-wise, whatever. So,
Columbus is kind of a college town. Did it kind of remind you of that college town feel, like a little more, well, like you said, pop and pop and like arty and... Yeah,
it was definitely felt, this neighborhood is, you know, changed so much over that time. Like 18th Street used to be, you know, Delfina only had its one restaurant, you know, Tartine used to be Carl's Bakery, like, and it was like people were selling drugs, and like the Dolores Park wasn't really safe, and sometimes people didn't walk down 18th Street all the time. Like it was like kind of tumbleweeds during the middle of the day. Like Fayes actually took a siesta. We were closed between 11 and 3 because there was no business, whatever really. So because people would leave the neighborhood and then come back here, and you know, it was like the artist people who lived in here, and like there was musicians and a lot of, you know, bartenders and artists. It was like all the quirky, fun people lived in this neighborhood, and then slowly we watched them go to Oakland or go to Portland or go to Austin or go to Nashville now, it seems like. So
yeah, like the new It town kept changing, and well, places like Oakland aren't so affordable anymore, and aren't such a like an alternative, but they are. Oakland is like where it seems like we're all like the alternative like artist type people are. Like I mean, because I'm an artist myself, like sometimes I'm like, San Francisco, like when you think of like an art thing to do, it's like, oh, it's kind of not going to be that exciting. But, you know, Oakland, you can still be like, there'll be queers, and, you know, like it'll be like transgender, and like, you know, like I went to like over the holidays, there was like a transgender holiday market. It was all the providers were trans people, and it was cool because there was this really welcoming, warm family energy that was just like, oh, it's just quirky, and you know, it's embraced, and not be like, oh, that's weird, or like, you know. this street, this area 20 years ago much different? And I mean, 500 Club is a block away. That's been there
forever. Yeah. And it's changed recently too, because it has a new owner.
Yeah.
And so like some of the bartenders are gone, and they've did some remodeling, and I actually don't go in there that much anymore, to be honest. Like it's been years. Kind of, we used to go there after work, or like, I mean, I also live 3 blocks away, so it's like nice. Like I have a super easy commute.
Yeah.
So, and then my partner lives in Oakland, so I'm over there all the time.
What are your thoughts or feelings about the changes that we're talking about? Like, and has it affected business here? I mean, you guys are still obviously open, and that's rad.
Yeah, so one of the things for like us to maintain like a business, I think, is that we slowly change things with the videos. Like I know a lot of video stores, when DVDs started becoming popular, like they would dump the VHS and try to like replace everything with DVD, and we kind of were systematic about it, where we were like, we'll get new stuff on DVD, and then things that people request, or things that are like standard things, like movies that you should have, would be classics in the collection. Like, and we slowly did it, and it's the same like now. We've slowly pushed the DVDs back and have added like art and cards and like little things, and it wasn't like a big transition. So, everything happened. We just kind of like evolving as like things that the neighborhood needs. We still are always like, what is missing from this block? Like, and so like what I've gone through, like, oh, should we be a gardening store too? Or like, should we be like a little general store that also has videos in it? Cause like there's only 2 video stores left really in the city. So we don't want to get rid of them, but it is like, when you think of that, the money coming in from the videos is less than like what we make in like a 3-foot square pastry case, or like, for me, the biggest sign was this recently, we actually have sold more money in newspapers than movies. Wow. And you're just like, well, everyone knows that the neighspapers are dying.
Yeah, like, that's telling.
Yeah, so it's a little bit, So, but I also think that our big stronghold is staying in this neighborhood is that we're like the community place. Yeah. Like we're the place where like the locals go, like they know about us. And sometimes it's a blessing and a curse, because like we've actually had people tell us like they don't want to tell people we have good coffee because they like that there's not a line out the door. And every once in a while, if there is a line out the door, we'll see a couple people bounce, and I'm just like, it only takes one little thing to like have someone change their place.
Yeah, there's only room in this neighborhood for one long line.
Yeah. And so it's like, you want to have a line, you don't want to have a line,
right?
Right. It's like a kind of a push-pull thing sometimes, but we get a lot of people who go across the street for like pastries and stuff, and then come here for coffee because they're like, somehow heard that we have better coffee, and like it makes me feel good that we're doing something right. And I don't know, our staff is really eclectic and different, and like it's interesting to me. Like I'll come in passing through and see one of them having like this conversation with a customer that I don't talk to for whatever reason, and I'm just like, oh, that's cool. Like this person is coming in here because they have this connection with this staff member, because they either are involved in writing or in a different community, or like have a different viewpoint of something, or just that they started talking one day.
So the customer still has that experience, or that familiarity and relationship.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason why people come back.
Yeah.
So,
am I crazy? Did it used to be called Fayes Video?
Video
used to be
that's
in
what you're saying in the name. So, yeah, it used to be Fayes Video and Espresso Bar. Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of ended up just reducing it to just Fayes when Matthew sold his half to Justin. Okay. So I have a new business partner for since 2015.
Okay.
And that was mainly more, there was like the way that they went to the city and like removed the name to whatever. Like we couldn't just, the first time, like you can just, usually you follow the person around and you say, I'm giving up this name, and then that person picks up the name. It didn't happen that way. And so we had to change it. And so we decided just going Fayes was then we could make it doing business as we can add whatever to it. And so we actually did take down the sign out front, because it used to say Fayes Video, and everyone would be like, this is a video store? Those still exist? And you could hear them from outside, and you were like,
go in and watch Netflix and store.
Exactly. Yeah. So we decided that it was better just to put Fayes Coffee out front as a sign, because a lot of people didn't know we actually had coffee. And so we figured that was a way to get people to be like, oh, wait, I don't have to wait in line. Or wait, oh, this is that place that people are talking about that has coffee, because they would see video store and be confused, even though it was still Fayes. So.
Right. I'm guessing it's been a while since, because I don't live in the neighborhood anymore. It's been a while since I like really hung out or, went to eat at Delphine or anything. I'm guessing like sometimes people who go to, let's say, like they go to Tartine and then do they pop over here, or like if they're waiting on their table at Delphine, do you get a lot of that foot
traffic? Yeah.
From those
places? Yeah, definitely, for sure. Like sometimes I think someone will say like, oh, there's a line over there, and then they'll come over here. Or like the people when they're waiting for their table at the pizzeria, especially, I think a lot of people pop over here and look at like the cards and like buy, peruse that selection, or be like, oh, this is cool to look at a video store. I mean, they might not actually come back in and actually rent a movie, which is unfortunate, but I mean, they're like, oh, this is cool. We didn't know this was here. So we do get exposure from that. We also get a lot of the staff from Delfino and Byright come over for coffee, which we all know them, and there's so it's like that. We have that repertoire with the local businesses. That
so it's not a bad place to be.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've enjoyed it. I mean, this block definitely has a lot of energy, and it's interesting that there's so much is changing over on Valencia Street. It seems like things are getting pushed out, or something that's been there for a long time is closing, and something new will open, and it might only last a couple months because the rents are so exorbitant. But like, all the businesses on this block have been around basically for 20 years. Like Dolores Park Cafe, Byright, Delfina, and us all celebrated our 20 years this year, or in 2018. And then like there's a couple new places that seem like they're doing okay. Like Namagaji on the corner is good, and of course Tartine's doing well, even though they came in 2002. So I think they're doing fine.
That was Michael McConnell. Join us Thursday when Michael will talk about being an artist in San Francisco, and he'll share some fun stories from the 18th and Guerrero area. Music for the podcast is by Otis McDonald. Film photography is by Michelle Kilfeather. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date on everything we do. Find the 60-plus past episodes on our website, storiedsf.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If that happens to be Apple Podcasts and you have a couple minutes, please rate and review the show for us. Send comments and suggestions to storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.